So we're laying back, everything's good and comfortable. Let the breath start to flow. Good, deep, relaxing breaths. I love this moment of blank slate. Anything can happen from here. So the image I was playing with planning this class is very much a spring-based image. We're getting to that point. We've got our spring equinox coming up soon, and we've got all sorts of changes in weather starting to happen. It's kind of a funny weather time of the year where one day is snow and then the next day is sunny. So it's kind of a fun time. And the image I'd like us to imagine that it's like we're a little seed that we're getting ready to germinate. We start to feel, we've been planted, we start to feel the sun, we feel the water touching us. And so we begin to duplicate, we germinate, we replicate, we let ourselves start to grow. And eventually, as we travel through class, just getting nice stretches everywhere, fun little challenges, all sorts of goodies today. Imagine that we're actually a seed that's growing and it's about to sprout, it's about to grow into its plant, it's about to come into its brilliant form. So as we're taking some of our initial stretches here in just a moment, let yourself really think about what kind of a seed I would like to plant to allow to grow over the coming weeks and the coming months. So what is it that I'd like to see more of in my life? What is it that I'd like to, almost like a New Year's resolution, what's this new start in this season that I'd like to start growing and creating? So with that question, to kind of start pondering for these initial stretches, let's begin to take the right knee into the chest. Couple of nice little right ankle rolls. Anything that's tight, we're starting to get into all those little crevices. And when you're ready, sooner or later, right leg up to sky. Give it a good stretch. A couple of breaths. We love being here right at this moment. And then hook this right foot on that back left side of fabric. Slide the shin in. Your center foot over. Ready to go. Check that you're happy with the points. Let's give this right hip one more good inhale. Nice exhale, let it come out, drop it down. Second leg. Left in, give it a few ankle rolls. Leg up to sky when you're ready. Feel those muscles starting to stretch out. Good, let's hook the heel when you're ready. Slide the shin in, give that hip a good chance to open. Maybe 2 more breaths, just give it the time, give it the patience. Like you can't force a seed to open and to sprout too quickly. It has to go at its own rate. Good, so take another maybe deep inhale. And exhale, start to free out the leg, give it that stretch. And release it all the way down. Good work. Let's work our way up to sitting, so feet kick off the front. Let's rise all the way up. Let's kick things off with a good inversion. Thumbs hook. Lean halfway back, legs go wide to catch yourself, and then wrap the ankles. Once you're upside down, just give the spine a little bit of time. Remember, this is still the first one of the day, so don't feel like you have to force it too much, but just give it some time. We're also not in a rush. So breathe, just feel that expansion, that stretch happening. First good thing of the day. We're at that point, we've got about half of us up. That's totally fine. Those that are still upside down, don't feel any sense of rush to come up. We're just gonna do a couple of nice little easy stretches, getting into our shoulders and our neck. Those are the good things. So don't feel like you're forcing your way up. If you're still hanging, that's absolutely fine. If you're ready to be up, go ahead and head up. Let's all give it just a couple more breaths. Scoot the shoulders forward, and especially let the head drop down. Okay, so we feel safe being up. Let's take our arms onto the inside. We're gonna ease into our shoulders. Imagine each of these little movements we get, especially into some of these extremities. Imagine that these are like helping us to crack that seed wide open. So take the backs of the hands together. Inhale, the arms come up above head. Exhale, flip the thumbs back and then rotate the arms down. It's like we're trying to move through that shoulder joint. So reverse it to come back up. Inhale, backs of hands together. Exhale, forward. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Reversing up. And forward. Let's take two more. Beautiful. And a little pose here that feels like a seed. We'll take a couple of those throughout class. So bringing our feet into the spot right under our thighs. Let the knees go wide. If this is still feeling okay, elbows bump forward of the end of the fabric. And then when head curls down, let the arms kind of wrap around the back side of the head. Feeling in, we're like the very much like the shape of the seed that we're trying to grow this spring. And so feel how tight it is. It's like, I imagine that moment right before the seed cracks open. I imagine it's like things are very tight. It's like things don't fit amazingly well. So imagine it's like we've germinated. We want to start spreading open. So give this maybe 2 or 3 more breaths. After that last exhale, release the hands. Let the feet kick back forward. What we're going to do here is actually go ahead and come out the front end so that we can sit back with only enough fabric to cover up our thighs. So go ahead and head on out for a moment. Wave your fabric out enough that nothing doubled over. And then this time, instead of taking that 5 or so grips of fabric, just kind of get one grip so that when we come back under plumb line, we slide our glutes in and then cover just basically up to thigh area. Sometimes it's harder coming in just to the end. Good, you got it. Okay. So from here, take the fabric that's behind you, lift it up and through. And from here, we're gonna try to get both heels into the fabric that's in front of our feet. So the fabric may be off to kind of one shoulder or the other, or maybe off to the side. You could be setting it more up if that's what your back needs. Or you could be leaning forward, kind of dangling the arms down, knees straight or knees bent. Play with it to make sure you're not hurting your body. We're not going forcing anything too much, but it is enough to just feel good for legs and back. Imagine this is like that first moment the seeds just starting to crack open. Just enjoy a couple of good breaths. Okay, so from here, this is a funky transition. So the first time might feel super weird. The initial idea is you keep your elbows in, you start to slide your glutes out the front end, and then ultimately the fabric will be basically up by your shoulder blades, pulling your upper body in, and the arms can be stretched out once you're there. So you start off kind of bringing your elbows inside, and then you'll start to kind of take a little easing of your glutes out, but keep your elbows in it first. That'll help you set the fabric right up to your shoulder blade area, hanging down. And it's a funky transition, so if you need to kind of even step one foot out to help you, that's fine. Then you can step your foot back in.
The hands stay on the outside?
You're actually on the inside. The fingers, you mean? Yeah, fingers are fine to be out, yeah. I know it's super funky. If you need to drop one foot down and kind of readjust everything, that's fine. And then you can just step it right back in. Go ahead and step one foot out. And then kind of start to slide the fabric off your glutes. And then take it to your upper back. Good. Get it up to kind of shoulders, and then you're leaning back. And feet back in. Good. So I usually from here will just slide my arms straight. So that way it's not too much work for my upper body. Good. And oftentimes, the more I can just release the effort of my abdominal muscles, the more I feel this just as a good stretch for the back. So imagine this is that slow journey to seed starting to break out of its shell. So obviously modifying if the back is having issues today, but we'll do just a hair of strengthening if it feels good. If you ever need to drop out early, you will eventually end up all the way on the floor. So if this is feeling okay, keep your left foot in, right foot drops out, hover it right above the floor. 5 times, lift it up as high as you can, and straight leg down. Straight leg up, floor, and down. 3, 2, 1. A moment with a twist. Bend that right knee in, twist the right knee, kind of up and over to the left. You can shift your hips a little bit. Good. Both heels back in. Give it a couple more breaths. Try to release all the effort of the muscles. Okay, if we'd like to do that with left foot comes out. And let's begin to lift it up. 5, and down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Then bring the knee in, bend it. Send that knee kind of swivels up and over to the right. Good. Unwind the hips, drop that foot on the floor, and then slide your shoulders out, keeping a grip so that you can slowly lower your back all the way down to the ground. You're keeping your grip, and then with the grip, you're gonna slip your left foot back into that second end of the fabric. So each foot is in one end. So Jennifer, it looks like you chose the same end.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. One on each end. Awesome. And while we're waiting, to just take a moment to let the legs just swing left and right. Sometimes it's so nice to do that just for the low back. Good, and then right back through the center, we've got a little challenge. So hands on the floor by the hips. Let's lift our hips up and then try to roll up one vertebrae at a time. And roll back down. Good. The next time, if your back can take more, when you lift up, you'll also try to slowly widen the legs out as much as you can, bring them together, and then lower down. So bridge pose first, lift up the hips, and then one vertebrae at a time. Once you're up, maybe legs slowly go wide, and then squeeze it back together, and return down. So if that's doing okay, maybe we'll take up to 7 more. So rising, widen, and squeeze, and lower. I love it because you kind of create that resistance by going slower. So here's 6. Eventually 5. You can always skip reps. If your body's like, oh, I'd rather rest, that's okay. 4. 3. 2. When you're ready, last one, up, wide, together, and down. Good work. Free out your right foot. Take your right foot onto your left thigh, setting up like a triangle. And then take the left foot free, just give it a hug. We're hugging around that left thigh. I love this stretch for how deep it can go into that right hip. So give it a couple of breaths. And let's switch out our ankles, taking the second side. A good breath in and out. Good. Release your ankle, reach up for a moment, bunching the fabric up. Kind of try to find it gathered in the center. And then once you've got it gathered up, take one foot in and then the other. Turn the toes out to lock the toes into place. Good. Let's do some frog leg squats. So I'll show you one rep of it. So we lift up like that bridge pose. Once you're up, the knees bend in, then straighten, and then go back down. Rather than going immediately down, instead though, we're going to do 10 frog legs and then lower. Okay, so when you're ready, come up to plank or bridge. Heels in and straight. 9. Keep on breathing. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower. Let the legs swing left and right a few times. Good. So this next one, you have the option just to stay here and take those frog legs again. If you're gonna go for it, it's kind of a funky one. What you'll need to do is put your upper back just a little bit closer, and then you'll try to get your legs up and capture your knees into the fabric. So if that doesn't feel so great, you don't have to go this far. It's up to your body to know if that's okay. If you're here, you could just hang. Give the gravity a chance for it to just kind of take over for a moment. Or you can try to do little crunches. It's really tight massage on the back of the knees, so don't feel like you have to overdo it. But the idea is you try to crunch up, even grabbing the fabric to help you out. Get yourself up to kind of like a seated position, and then as slowly as you can, reverse everything back down. Okay? So maybe 5 of those if it feels okay. If you'd rather just hang, there is 0 things wrong with that. Okay? So if we're going for 5, try to crunch up slowly, reach, walk your way up, good little strengthening, and slowly back down as slowly as you can get, including when you release hands, try to slowly touch the floor. Whew. Good work. If you're doing okay still, 4. A nice little arm strength you get there. Good, and you don't have to go all the way either. Heart rate is also awesome. You're doing okay still, 3. Maybe joining in for 2. You can always give your knees a little break at the top too if you ever need it. Good. Maybe 1 more. Good. You can stay at the knees for a moment. You can slip back down to feet. Just give it a couple of breaths while we are recovering. Good efforts, whatever we did. Be happy, be proud. It's like there's so many different kinds of seeds. We don't have to feel like our seed has to look exactly like anybody else's. So just be happy. I did exactly what my body wanted there. So good work. Another little breath to recover. Good work. Exhale, free up the feet. Let's reach up and grab the fabric. And you get to choose if you'd like to include some pull-ups here. If so, do as many as feels okay. until you're ready to walk your feet back up to stand. Oh, amazing effort. Once we're up, just grab as wide as the shoulders, more or less. And just give yourself an easy stretch forward. If you want to stay still, sometimes I just work on kind of flattening that low back, helping to stretch it out. Sometimes I'll add little wiggles left and right, or cat cows, kind of rounding up into my shoulder blades and then dropping down. So listen to your body for a couple of breaths. What does it want? What does it need? Good, rolling our way back up. While our feet were upside down for so long, they probably are not quite ready for an inversion, so that's what makes hip hang awesome, because you're still getting some good blood. It's not like it's upside down for us. So let's go ahead and take fabric up to hips. You can even be on tippy toes to keep it on the bones, and then walk forward to take slack out. Bend at the waist, bring up thumbs, drop hands down. And then a good 3 or 4 steps takes us back under thumb line. So this down dog shape is perfect. Don't feel like you have to go further. If the massage across hips is not too intense, maybe for a little while you lift one foot and eventually switch. Maybe you lift both feet together, hands on the floor. Or maybe hands come around the legs. It's really up to you to play around here. Try to come up, down, play around. You can have wiggles, you can have stillness. It's whatever feels good and helpful for your body. Just like normal, it's up to you to know how long to stay. You're welcome to stay upside down a bit longer. When you reach that point where you're ready to start coming up, you just come up with your feet on the floor, ease your head up, and then eventually fabric will come around behind you and just lay back into it for a moment. Beautiful. So continue to stay in this recovery spot if you know that you need more time for your head to be safe to move on. If you're feeling okay, just walk backwards, free yourself out of the fabric. That helps me know where everybody's at. Okay, looks like we're good. So let's move into some stretches to open up that hip spot we just massaged and get into the legs a little bit. Let's take right thigh inside. Always remember, if the massage for this one is too intense, just spread out the surface area. That's always an option. Otherwise, make sure you're not standing too far back off plumb line, just that couple of extra inches. And then flat hands high, thumbs hug around. Let's start to sink our hips forward. I love this one because I'm trying to drop my hips forward, even kind of rotating my spine back to get into these little muscles right on the front of that left hip. Kind of that tilt up is what increases it. But that being said, a lot of people feel this more in the calf, and that's another beautiful area to drop into with that back heel. So whatever feels good, just sink into that spot. If you are even going so far as leaning back, you can take the full rep, so it's up to you. Good, another deep breath in and out. Take our weight back. Heading into hamstring, slide down to this ankle. You always have the choice to just grab on and slide down. If your body feels like it's ready for more, maybe hands go up and you take a little bit more like a splits action forward. Don't feel like, again, you have to force your way to any spot, even like 3 inches counts. It's us listening to our body, and that's where we go. So 2 more breaths. Okay, weight comes back. We're going to switch our legs, so you could just take this foot out, take the other foot in, or the swinging switch is while you're swinging. You step one foot in and the other foot out. Like that. Okay, so slip it down to thigh to start. Make sure you're not too far behind the line. Let's take that ease into our right hip this time. So let's start with flat hands, thumbs hug around. Sink your weight forward. Easing into that hip. Maybe full wrap and lean back just a bit, or maybe not. There's lots of variations you can play with here. Feel your body easing into the best spots. Beautiful. Let's head our weight back. Slip it down to ankle. Personal preference, are we sliding down or are we sliding up to transfer forward? Deep, slow breath in. Nice exhale, come back. Good. Let's take this leg out. And we'll do a little sequence starting with chandelier. So let's take the fabric around our back. We're standing in front of it. Fabric's over the shoulders, kind of like a backpack. And then our thumbs hook onto the spot kind of by our hips. Make sure it stays right across sacrum. One foot steps back. And that allows us to bend the knees and lean back. Use your core. Tiptoe 2 or 3 little baby steps until we're under plumb line, and then kind of simultaneously hands up, knees wide, wrap the feet. Let's hang. We won't be upside down too long, so we can all be a part of the sequence, but let's take maybe 3 or 4 breaths just in this spot. Good. Now right leg goes straight up to the right side, a nice wide angle. And then continue to point that right leg all the way behind you toward me. And then once you're there, bend the knee. Maybe one hand or maybe both hands trying to grab for that foot. You've kind of got 2 options to play with. If you pull the foot close to the glute, that's a huge quad stretch. Or if you push the foot into the hand, that's a nice back bend. Either way, maybe another 3 or 4 breaths in this spot. Good. And then releasing hands if you grabbed onto it. Leave the feet dangling just like they are. Gaze up toward your belly and then hands reach up for fabric. Even walking above where the foot is. And that similar walking that we practiced earlier. Give the head a couple of breaths for a moment. This will be our transition out, kind of our restorative pose. Your body knows it would be safe to stand. The way we're going to come up to stand is that left knee squeezes to the inside, so the fabric's wrapping right around that knee. And then all we have to do is tilt forward until the other foot can stand on the ground. Good. So this is, yep, squeeze your knee in. You got it. Yep. Okay, so this is fine just to be here playing with that leg straightening out. I personally like to get this knee a little higher. So my right hand, I push some of the fabric into that arm and the arm locks straight, and that helps to lift up the knee by taking some of the fabric out. So you don't have to do that, especially if it feels like it takes you off balance. Don't go quite that far. You can always adjust the hand going higher or lower, but when you're here, good balance, maybe grab onto the foot and help that leg extend. Good, you don't have to though. If this is a really good stretch for the hip, that's fine. Sometimes I'll just muscularly work the leg straight. Kind of up to you there. Good. One more deep breath in and out. Let the knee bend. Unwind the fabric from your back. You'll end up just like where we were before. Good. So take a couple of breaths, just sinking the hips forward. Maybe this time we slide our hands down and lean forward into the knee area. Fabric kind of on the shoulders just to be a little bit of a massage as we lean forward. Then hips back first, and then torso rises up. As we go down to the foot again, know that you have liberty to just stay here if you know that your balance is iffy or you know that this is already a good stretch. If you want to play with lifting this leg higher, the way that you can do that, and again, this is a balance challenge, so good grips on fabric, grab on, hop back if you start to lose your balance. But if your balance feels okay today, maybe your bottom foot starts to hop forward. As the further forward you hop, the more it lifts that foot up. So you choose exactly where to stop. Keep a kind of a high grip, because if you start to lose balance, that high grip is going to keep you safe. Good, so you choose that perfect placement. It's similar to the stretch we just did to the side, but now it's forward. Good. Maybe one more deep breath in and out. Slide up, couple of hops back, and let's take this foot out. Good. Before we switch, let's just plant feet about as wide as the mat. Maybe a little ballet bar in front of us. Let's squat down from wide knees and go back up. This kind of re-engages those muscles around the hips. Let's go 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good work. Second side, we need to come back inside, taking the chandelier. So take it as slow as you need to. I personally like to use my core, so that way I'm kind of working it in the negative as I go down. So take the fabric across sacrum, one foot back, and the knees to lean into it, tiptoe until you're under plumb line, and then hands up, knees wide. Maybe when you have your feet wrapped, you use the core to kind of do a little reverse crunch to lower down. Good, you can always add in a few bonus crunches here, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll give it just a couple of breaths. Now, always know if it didn't wrap around a good spot, come out, come back in. That'll help you the whole sequence. When you feel good and ready for the second side, the idea is left leg going straight. Rotate the leg around its socket to point behind you, and then bend the knee. Maybe hands grab one or sometimes both. Don't feel like you're forcing anything. 2 or 3 more breaths here. And then as our hands start to release, gaze up for belly button, reach one hand to the other, walk the hands up even above that foot that's hooked. Give your head a couple of breaths. I also like how this kind of opens up the hip just a little bit. When you feel like it's safe to stand, squeeze the right knee to the middle and then tilt forward to stand. You could just stay here, or you can shift some more fabric into the left arm. And we'll lift that leg a little bit as we go. So maybe this is a good spot, maybe you're muscularly straightening, or maybe your hand grabs onto ankle or foot. So another good inhale. Exhale, bend the knee. Unwind the fabric from around. The leg comes around in front. You can always spread out some surface area. And then from here, just lunging forward. Feel free to bring the shoulders onto it, the head through, even sliding the hips, kind of sinking down as we slide closer to that knee. I love it because it kind of is still part of that recovery pose from where we were just upside down. One more good breath in and out. Shift your hips over your back foot. Then the shoulders can rise. Slip us to ankle. This is the balance one. So if the balance is iffy on this side, don't feel like you have to go as far forward. If your balance is stable enough, maybe start to hop forward and you choose how far you go. The further you go, the more this leg is lifted up. More breaths helps us to bring our bodies back into balance from left to right. Take one more good inhale. Nice exhale. Grab up high, little hop back. Take the foot out. Let's do just a few more of those little squats. Stepping the feet a bit wider than the mat. Let the knees track in line with the toes as we go down. And up. There's different ways you can do this. You could lean forward more. You could keep the spine straight up more. Just play with how any type of variation just fills in the hip muscles that we were just working on. Those deep stretches, those deep massages. Do another 3. 2, 1. Turning the toes forward. Let's start to lean forward. Slightly different stretch than when the feet were together. Bending the knees to roll up. Let's take our feet together. And then come up to the top. Unwind the fabric, waving it out a little bit. Okay, heading all the way inside. So there's kind of 3 different directions that you can take. The first 2 I will not be doing, so you'd be guiding yourself basically. The third option I will be doing. So you can listen for which option feels like the best, and it'll also head you to which Shavasana you want. Option 1, if you know you need another inversion, take a nice vampire pose, and then when you're done, just head to your Shavasana and just rest. Option 2, if you just need some nice little stretches before you end, lay back in Shavasana and do some of those initial stretches that we did for the legs and the hips, all those goodies. And then option 3, we're gonna come deeper inside, do just a handful of little stretches before we wrap up in the Shavasana like a cobbler's pose, the bottoms of feet together and we're sitting inside. So choose inversion, just some of those initial stretches, or heading back with me. If you're heading deeper inside, you'll need to come into like a straddle of the fabric. So choose a side, bunch up the fabric, lock your arms straight. The hip that got lifted, you'll need to swing up and over. Good, and feel free to, don't feel like it's a rush. I do it quickly, but most people it takes a little bit more effort. Good, yep, just kind of lock the arms and just take your time. No rush, you're doing awesome. If you get here, go ahead and take each heel into the fabric. We'll take a couple of breaths just to play with the legs straightening out. You can always have slight bend to the knees if that helps your back. You could play with arm strength as you press the arms out, try to engage the core, sit up tall, engage the shoulders, pressing wide. If we're here, slide the right hand down the right leg. Left hand just gets to stretch up and over. And rising up, slide it all the way down to the second side, right arm up and over. Good, and as we're back up, if you're here with me, bottoms of feet come together. This will be our final Shavasana. If you're doing other things, take your time, do your things until your body knows it's time to rest. In this little shape, it's almost like we returned back to a little seed shape. You can either rest the forehead forward or rest the back of the head backward, whatever feels better. And this is such a nice little seed of infinite potential. So imagine this is like the moment right before the Big Bang. It's like the moment where anything could happen. There is no reality yet. There is no defined path of time. It was all infinite potentials, all in that packed little energy together. So imagine that's this infinite seed that we're in right now. So perhaps all you do is just luxuriate in this potential energy, just letting the breath go in and out. Or perhaps your intuition is going to guide you on a nice little journey of knowing the seed to plant, for the spring season. Either way, the only thing that's required is just to allow breath to flow. We'll be resting here for several minutes, just letting our body recoup and enjoy and recover from everything we did. All it takes is just the breath. Deep inhales, deep exhales, keep it flowing. take the next couple of minutes to slowly head out of this shape. So maybe you start off just with a couple of deep breaths. Maybe the neck does a couple of little stretches left and right. Maybe the legs want to extend out. One or both. Maybe there's a little bit more time of these simple little stretches that we need to do. At some point, we'll allow the fabric to go back to the knees. If you're in the cocoon, eventually we'll face forward, but there's no rush. Take your time. If even here you need to do a couple of little back movements, little shoulder stretches, take your time. So as we begin to face back forward, we're present. Let's join our hands together in front of our heart. And imagine all that potential energy we just explored is right there in that heart space. It shrunk down, it's ever present in that area. So imagine reaching into that infinite potential and picking out your seed again. And take just a brief moment to visualize just the picture of that seed having grown. Imagine the fruit or the flowers. And this, metaphorically, is that seed we're going to allow to grow over these months, over these coming weeks, over these next days. And so with this image of this seed we've handpicked to allow to plant and grow, with that seed to lead us on, let's wrap up the time we shared together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.